welcome to the second episode of a tutorial series on the factories. In the last one, I showed a basic overview of what each machine would end up doing. And in this one, I'm going to show you how to build this basic factory. This is just a simple factory that can process things and allow you to cover the most start-up materials that you'll end up getting before you get into stone. As soon as you start getting into stone, it's going to get a lot more complicated. So at the start, this is a good setup to start with. For this one, I'm just going to show you how I ended up building this and maybe a way to improve this a little bit. Because even after I ended up building this, I ended up figuring out a way to improve it even more. So, if you want to build this particular one, I'll leave this on long enough that you can look at it. The biggest features of this one is that it ends up combining things after the wash plant with a merger. I'm going to show you a slightly different method for the one that I'm going to build. So let's just get to it. Okay, so the first thing that you're going to end up needing is a bit of a platform. And the other thing that you're going to end up needing is a way to build easily. What I find for building is to change from snap building to grid building. This allows you to line everything up properly. Snap will work if you've got existing infrastructure already in place, but I find that the grid building allows you a lot more flexibility as far as setting up and making sure that everything aligns correctly. So you don't need much to get this started, but what you do need to start with is water. I find that the water is the hardest thing to look after as far as the system is concerned. So I always end up planning my builds around where that water supply is going to be, especially if you're dealing with the wash plant. You're not worrying about the wash plant, just putting pay dirt into and selling the pay dirt directly. Not a big deal. You can skip this part. But I find that if you plan that first, you're not going to have any issues down the line. Now, for water, you are going to need a water pump. You can put a water refinery in place in between it. I don't know if it makes any difference as far as the efficiency of the wash plant is concerned. But if you want to improve things, you can put a refinery in, a water refinery in after the water pump. Doesn't make much of a difference. Once you have that, you need to put it on grass. Now, the one downside with doing grid building is that because this needs to be placed on grass, you're going to end up having some issues because you're going to end up having to find a spot where it lines up correctly with the grass and still has to connect properly. There is a workaround though for that I've found. I don't know if this is a glitch that they'll end up fixing, but I hope they don't. But if you get some dirt or any other material, start filling stuff in up to where you need to go. Now, this will only work if you put it on dirt. Get a pickaxe, just to clean things up a little bit. Now we got our pump. And if we can get this to align correctly. Done. So now it works. This needs to stay like this. If you try to do any more with this, it will end up stopping working. I've found just leaving it like this is more than enough. I'm just going to fill this in here. Because the next thing you need to worry about is power. How are you going to power this machine? And for the price of it, I have found that renewable energy is the best way to go. You don't have to mess around with it. You don't have to fight with it. It just stays on. So for power, I would just recommend that you stick with the 1 speed to start. If you find that you need more throughput, feel free to increase, but the price and the power you require as you increases as well. So definitely think about what you're going to end up doing, and you can always switch this stuff out afterwards as your factory grows. So stick with that. You'll need power cables, and you're going to need a power pylon. For this, I would recommend that you just stick with the 5400. It's the biggest one that you can get, but it's worth it to... If these have more power going through them than they can handle, above that rating, they explode and they're garbage. So, go big. Now, renewable energy. I found that these are the best to work with. As far as power is concerned, they're the easiest ones to set up, and they're the easiest ones to work with. They have a hefty price tag on them, but 3 of these will max out your power on this without going over. You don't have to worry about the math on it because it always works. So, since I start with the water intake, and this has an intake here on this, it doesn't actually have a full conveying system, but you need a conveyor system to connect one of these to the system. You only need one for the entire setup. So I usually, since I start with the water, I start with that. Connect that in, no problem. Next, your power pylon. One of the main reasons that you need the power pylon is you're going to be connecting 3 wind turbines to this system. This connection here will only take 1 cable in, not 3. Whereas this will take 5 cables. So you get the 1 cable in here, then I'm going to put 3 wind turbines down, and that's going to end up powering everything. Now, you'll see here that they act a little weird with grid build. So, in this particular case, switch to snap build, and they will hug the whatever terrain that you've got. And depending on whether you like clipping or not, space them however that way that you want. Because if you put them too close, they'll end up clipping together. Like that. And then if you put them side by side or spin them, you end up getting stuff like this, which is, I mean, they work. There's no collision on them, so it's not that big of a deal, but if you don't like clipping and having it ruin the immersion, put a little gap in there and you're fine. Okay, now, when you're connecting this, if it doesn't connect to that right away, sometimes if you just stare at the pole, it'll connect in. And there we go. So that is connected. You notice these aren't running because every power source and every thing with power, you need to turn on first. So you have to go to every single one of these and turn them on. Then you end up having to go to the machine separately and turn it on. I'm going to leave this off for now, but just if you've set up your machine and you can't figure out why it hasn't started working, check your power. Check to see if this is on, check if any of these are off, and double check what your load is, because sometimes what'll end up happening is you build your machine, you run out of power, everything shuts down, and you don't even realize it. So if anything is not working the way that you expect it to, check your power first and you'll be fine. So the next thing you're going to end up needing is some pipes. I'm just going to go with a simple setup here, and this is where you would end up putting your refinery in if that's what you wanted to do. And I'm going to go a little bit farther with this. So now that we've got our water through here, we've put our first building in, which is going to be a wash plant. Wash plants and sluice boxes are the exact same amount of money, but because the wash plants have a complete throughput, as in everything that's processed ends up going out here, this is your best bet. Sluice box will have your pay dirt coming in, but what happens is that it stores any of the valuable materials in its storage and sends just dirt out. So this is very limited. For the same price, you might as well go with this because this is going to end up giving you a lot more flexibility. Yes, with this, you also need to worry about a storage container afterwards if that's all you're doing, but it's worth it to not have to buy another machine. So get a wash plant, pop it on there. So now the wash plant should function correctly. Now you need an input, you need an output. So what we need to have going into this is pay dirt needs to come in this direction and everything goes out here. So the first thing that we're going to end up needing to do is sort things out, which if you check my last video, trommel is basically all that you need. So set up a trommel and you're good to go. The one issue is with this is that if you look at the help picture on this, material comes in, the pay dirt and dirt comes out the back, and everything else goes out the front. So if we connect this like this, it's not going to work properly because we need to have this output connected to that. Easiest way to do that is get any conveyor. I'm just going to buy a few of these just to have them on hand. I'm going to end up needing them eventually anyways. Pop that down on there. Take your trommel, switch to that. And now everything is lined up the way that it needs to be. This is going to be your input. This is going to output your paydirt. And this is going to end up doing your everything else. Now your everything else needs to be looked after, but for now what we're going to worry about is this, is the output from this. The output from this is going to have dirt, gold ore, diamond ore, ruby ore, and silicon ore. You want to separate out these from this. And the only thing that sorts that out is, again, the trommel. Trommel will sort out dirt and pay dirt. In this particular case, since we don't have any pay dirt in the system anymore, all we need to worry about is the dirt. Now, I'm going to end up adding some conveyors to this just to make it easier to see. Set up the conveyors however way that you want to set it up. So now we have dirt is going to come out this here, and then everything else is going to end up coming out through here. So let's take a quick detour. It is right. So we've got a right-hand turn on this, and this can end up going into the rest of our factory. But if you remember back here, this is going to filter out pay dirt and dirt into this. And the end result of this is going to end up being all of your ores. If you've got a system that is going to also generate ores, you also need to deal with the output of this. So best way to do that is just do that. We'll put these in here, and then we're gonna do another right hand turn on here. Now, if you looked at the other one, the other design that I had on there, the difference that I ended up having is I ended up putting a merger in here. You can do a merger on that, perfectly fine. I'm going to do a slight variation of that, and I'm going to do that, and I'm going to use a chute. A chute allows you to put material from one conveyor into another, or let you dump it just onto the ground. All it does is it's a free-flowing output from that. This is a perfectly acceptable setup as a merger. This will also allow you, if you have power issues, separating out by a chute will allow you to separate out the power. In this particular case, all of this is powered by the same thing because that trommel is connected to this anyways, but if you ever have any power issues, you can separate it out by chute. I'll go over this in a later video, but for now, this is a good variation on any time that you end up needing a merger. Now, I'm going to go up and straight just to make things easier. So the next thing that you need to worry about here is coal. Because coal is going to end up coming out through here, and you want to get that out of the system as quick as possible. So the next thing you're going to end up needing is a coal screen. So we put in the coal screen, and that's going to end up coming back out. And we'll put it off into this direction because we're going to end up dealing with that next after this. Next, we're going to go up and over. And again, I'm doing this just to make it easier. You can set up the conveyor systems however way that you like. And you can make this more compact than it already is. So next, we're going to start dealing with these smelters. Now, the biggest question is, do you use a metal sorter first or a high temp sorter? The only real difference on these is how you want to process your iron. Both of these sort iron. But in my opinion, steel from iron is a better source than iron ingots from iron. Steel has a lot more versatility, and it's worth a lot more money, and it takes the same amount of inputs, and you just need iron for it. So there's no point in worrying about iron ingots for this. Just stick with your high temp sorter and your metal ore. If you find that you want iron ore more than you want steel, feel free to switch this around. But I'm going to do that. I'm going to go up. I'm going to go over. Put in the metal sorter. Okay. So, off from this, we'll deal with the coal and the output from this trommel in a second. But for right now, we're going to branch off of this. Now, outputs on this. All of these have the material that you want to come out the back. That's why I ended up setting these up the way that they are, is because the material that we actually want to get with this sorter is coming out the back end of it. The other materials are going at the front. So the materials that we want are going to be on these back ends. So we'll put that there. So from our high temp sorter, we're going to need a high temp smelter and a bar roller so that we can get our bars from it. From the metal sorter, we're going to need a smelter. And I'm going to get another smelter, which I will explain what we'll need that for in a second. And I'm going to get 2 more bar rollers. So, high temp smelter, bar roller, and that will process all of your higher end materials like aluminum, silicon, and steel. Now, to capture this stuff, you're going to need a storage. So, pop a storage on there, and you're good to go. One note with the storage is, if you're using the output past this point, these will not output any materials by default. So, if you connect anything after this point, you need to turn this pass-through on or it will not process. In this particular case, we don't care. What we want is it to all build up into this. We just come along, we grab the materials that we want, and then we sell them. Next, smelter. Just pop that right on there. And there. Now, all of our materials that are coming from this sorter is going to end up coming through here and getting processed into this. Now, I'm going to go back to this to show you something. And that's kind of an odd thing with the way that the sorting works in the game is this sorter will only sort iron ore, copper ore, aluminum ore, silver ore, and lithium ore. If you follow the system that we've got, aluminum and silicon is going to and iron are going to be filtered out first, which means that this is only going to have to worry about copper, silver, and lithium. The thing is that the wash plant is going to be producing both gold ore and silicon ore. None of these sorters filters gold, which means that there is going to be gold ore coming out of this, which very likely you would want to have it smelted into bars. So what we need to do is we also need to put a smelter on here, bar roller, and a storage on here, because what's going to end up coming through in this is the gold ore is going to end up being processed into gold ingots, which we can then sell, and diamond ore, ruby ore are going to end up coming through this. Now, diamond ore and ruby ores are kind of another video on their own, but you can sell those. There is no filter for those, so, and they don't get processed. All they do, they're not going to jam up the system. All they do is anything that the smelter can't process and anything that the bar roller can't process, all it does is it just sends it down the line until the next stage. So you don't have to worry about that. It's going to all build up in here. All you need to do is come in here, grab it, and sell it. And that's it. This is it. This is your machine. For the most part. The only thing that you need to worry about now is what to do with your coal and your dirt. The best way to do that is with a sell point. What a sell point allows you to do is take materials, and I forgot to switch back to grid build. Still built it anyways. So it allows you to take materials and to sell them right away. But don't make the mistake that I did in not reading. This says dump resources, but if you look at the side, it says sell point ore. This will only automatically sell ores. All of these bars that you're creating, it will not sell them. All they're gonna, if you try to dump them into this, it's just gonna end up building up and then just getting dumped. But all we need to do on this is, I don't have enough of these. If I have the right materials. So this is partially why I like grid building. over snap building because you can do stuff like this and line it up perfectly with this, whereas snap building won't let you do that. It's great if you've already got a basic foundation already in place, but if you need to set things down from scratch and line things up properly, that's your way to go. All right, I'm going to need some ups, and the other thing that we're going to end up needing is a couple of chutes. I'm going to do up again, and then I'm going to find out where I put my chutes. Now, you can just have bare conveyors just going into this, but I like the aesthetics of having that chute go into this. You also can do it lower and just have it dump right onto that. But having it like this means that if for some reason, which shouldn't happen, but if a material that isn't supposed to get sold through here, it's just going to end up building up to here. If you don't have a gap between this, what it's going to end up happening is you're going to end up having to break this, empty it out, and then put it back on. So you might as well just stick with this. So that's it. That is absolutely everything taken care of. So coal and dirt will get automatically sold. This is going to end up doing your high temp stuff. So it'll do steel, aluminum, and silicon bars. You're going to get copper and I don't remember which one's there. And then you're going to get your gold, ruby, and diamonds through here. So all you need to do is run along here, and since this has been running, I can actually show you. You got, which apparently I didn't have any gold anymore, but you got your diamond and ruby ores here. You've got copper, you've got silver, you got lithium through here. You've got aluminum, steel, and silicon through here. So everything ends up being sorted, and everything else in this particular one, see how I ended up just having this dumped into here. Coal and dirt just got automatically sold. Now we can run a test of this one here. The only thing is that with this one here that we've built here, it doesn't have an input. Your best inputs are probably going to be your hoppers. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to show you how to set up a hopper. Now for this, I'm going to need an up like that. I'm going to need a hopper. I'm just going to do a big hopper. So now if you got like a loader or anything like that, you can come along, fill this in here like this. Oh, it's not running. That's the reason. The reason for that is didn't turn it on. Turn it on, machine starts going. And in fact, I'm going to end up throwing in some ores just to show you how it works. Dump all of that in here. Have it consume. So it's going to end up processing all that through this. Now it's going to take a little bit. But you'll see eventually this ends up going through here and processing. So this is going to end up taking this. You've got your dirt should be coming through here. Oh, no. Dirt is coming through here. Coal's going to come through here. Coal and dirt are just going to end up going into there and getting sold. And as you can see, it's coming all the way to the end. And there you go. So that's a basic setup. That's all you end up needing for initial digging. Till you get into stone, this is your best factory setup. It can get a lot more complicated than this, but this is the best way to do it for your initial setup. Feel free to leave any comments or anything that I might have missed in this, or if there's anything that you would like to see in future videos. This is only the second video in a series of videos. I will be doing more advanced features of sorting and processing in future videos. So make sure to subscribe so that you can stay tuned for more, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.